Following breaking news of not a high-speed chase, rather a slow-speed chase. Nonetheless, something we need to bring you right now because it can affect the traffic out there. And obviously, people in the neighborhood want to know what's going on when you see 10 squad cars show up in your car here. So that car in the center of your screen, that is the suspect's vehicle that they are, as you see, going about 3 to 5 miles per hour.
Yeah, I mean, you see the stretch of police vehicles behind it. So here's what we're getting, the latest info here. This was last on Texas Street going north in the North Park area. It started about 6:30, so just about 45 minutes ago this has been going on. And then University and Boundary and Mid-City, officers tried to stop this driver for a traffic violation, but the driver would not pull over. And as you see, 3 to 5 miles per hour. This has been going on for 45 minutes now. They did deploy spike strips, and they worked. So that deflated all 4 of the tires on that vehicle that officers are trying to stop.
A lot of you probably going, well, why don't they just pull in front of him when he's going this slow? Because the officers have protocols that they have to follow in these types of situations. It's department policy. They don't know what the suspect's intentions are. They don't know what could, if they're holding a possible weapon.
Right.
So they're being very careful, and it looks like the car is coming almost to a stop there. At some point, the tires are going to be so deflated on this vehicle, it's just not going to be able to roll.
Let's check in with Evan now. What can you tell us?
If you look closely, you can see the back right tire looks to have something dragging along with it. I'm assuming that could be from the spike strips.
That's the tire tread.
Exactly. So the tire is, so that could be the reason why they're at such a slow speed right now.
all 4 tires deflated, they said.
So if you're looking at 4 tires deflated, that back right tire just kind of dragging along right now. He wants to keep going clearly with this pursuit, but that car isn't going to let him go much faster than where he's at right now. And as you mentioned, through the North Park area, those residential streets.
Yeah, you can see all the homes that are in and around that area, and obviously you don't want to be near this, because there's no telling what the driver is doing or has in the vehicle, and that's why they have to be very careful and advise residents to stay away.
He's going so slow that officers are able to block options for him. You see that vehicle right there, the squad saying, nope, you can't come down this street. You got to keep going straight. So my guess is they're probably going to get ahead of this, what looks to be a BMW vehicle. You can see the driver with his hand out the window here doing some sort of signaling, maybe even look like he's saying he's slowing down.
Right.
But nonetheless, he's kind of running out of time here.
It looks like he's trying to communicate in some way with those officers. He's waving his hand out the window. Looks like he's kind of leaning his head out a little bit, talking out the window. Appears that he's the only one in the vehicle right now. And as Eric mentioned, going so slow right now and really just a straight shot that they've been able to block off those intersecting lanes as he approaches them.
Our view, obviously, on these screens are kind of small. Can you tell that it's a male driver?
It looks like it's a male driver, yeah. And it looks like his arm is out the window there. His head is nearly out the window. And he's talking, it appears like, but he's not exactly pushing his full head out the window. And you even see on the left-hand side there a biker coming through, passing this chase. Obviously really dangerous to have residents there on the streets, on the sidewalk, right around this slow speed chase.
Nothing is in his hand, in the hand that was out the window that we could see here. And again, this was a driver that was pulled over for a simple traffic violation. Typically when we see these high-speed chases, they're able to confirm that the suspect was wanted for a big crime or something. That's why they're willing to go on a chase, which can obviously enhance your time when you are eventually apprehended.
Yeah, if you're going through any of those intersecting lanes, that's where they're completely blocked off right now to through traffic. That biker almost went into that intersection there just to pass it. He's come to a stop there on his bike, watching this chase now come through that area. So, I mean, hey, if you're coming through that area, if you're a resident in that area, stay inside. Obviously, you don't want to walk outside and try to look around at what's going on.
Yeah, and just for people who are tuning in right now, to kind of help you with the location that this is all happening, we do know it started on Texas going north. So that's in the North Park area, Texas Street, pretty busy one. And then, they said the chase started around 6:30. And it was at University and Boundary in Mid-City. So that's where it began. So I apologize, I misspoke earlier. But it began at University and Boundary in Mid-City. And then it looks like now this is on Texas Street. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's our latest update from San Diego Police, who are the ones that are involved in this.
Going through a residential area here, and that's why these officers are taking extreme precautions. if you're just joining us right now, it looks like the vehicle came to a stop here, or is attempting to try and make a turn. It looks like the officers are going to get a little closer, and they are eventually going to get out and probably demand that driver get out of the vehicle with his hands up and get on the ground, like we've seen in so many of these high and now slow speed chases. This is the driver in some sort of looks to be a BMW SUV. He keeps moving his hand up and down, and the officers aren't quite going to have that discussion with him. So they're out of their vehicles. They're yelling something at him. They stopped their vehicles, and then he decided to play a little cat and mouse, get back in his car, and to continue driving. You can see on the back right tire, his tire, which was blown out by spike strips. In this case, those worked. His tire is trailing behind him as he is leading police on a 3 to 5 mile an hour chase through this neighborhood. You're looking in people's backyards. They're obviously wondering what is going on when there's a trail of 10 squad cars behind this slow moving vehicle that are quote unquote pursuing this vehicle right now. At some point, this is going to come to an end. This is a guy that was pulled over for a traffic violation that is now extending this pursuit.
And you know, we see these high-speed chases all the time. I don't think I've seen one this slow, obviously, ever. And this one, I mean, with the tires being blown out like that, they're all deflated. This driver is not going to get very far, and you always know they usually end with the driver getting arrested. You know, hopefully this all ends peacefully, and that's, you thought as he stopped that he was going to get out and then continued on for some reason.
And he's still super casual, still has that left hand just hanging out the window there, waving it up and down. It looked like earlier when he came to that complete stop that he was trying to talk to the officers somehow. You see those officers trying to block him in, essentially.
There
here.
We go. Maybe
telling him to come to a stop.
Now the officers are saying stop. They've kind of made it difficult for him to kind of
He's trying
move
to go
around.
right through there.
They've kind of backed him in. Let's see if he complies with their demands or he continues to ram this SUV, which will obviously not be a good decision for him and could add to any potential charges here. Officers, I don't see any guns drawn at this point. I just see them out yelling commands at this slow-moving driver. Palm trees in the way right now. Hopefully he gets out of the car, he gets down on the ground, and they're able to take him into custody peacefully. I do see some people, some potential pedestrians on the right side of your screen there. I'm not sure if those are bicycle officers.
That's that same biker that's been there.
That person should not be anywhere near this scene.
And now
Unless
he's reversing.
you're law enforcement, there's no reason.
Yeah, he's reversing
looks like
and
he's
going to
trying to get around the SUV once again.
He's going to try to go down Myrtle, it looks like.
Is that Myrtle?
That's Myrtle. That he's moving toward, it looks like. Officer out of his car there, and he's
no
just
guns drawn, no threat they don't feel necessarily from this driver. They're still yelling at commands to him, but they're allowing him for some reason to continue to go around and maneuver around their vehicles. There was one road that wasn't blocked off. He quickly figured that out, the suspect did here, and he attempted to drive that direction, and now instead of taking the right, he's doing a full half circle here, and definitely blocked in at this point, as you can see. Converging officers coming around the vehicle here. They do have their hands on their service weapons, and they are continuing to yell commands to the driver, which continues to flap his left arm. I'm not sure what that signifies. Eventually, the peaceful situation is here for him to get out of the vehicle, get out on the ground so they know there is no longer a threat, and to take him peacefully into custody. Again, this is a slow-moving chase that started, almost an hour ago now. Spike strips worked. He was able to barely get away, and now this looks like it's about to come to a conclusion.
Yeah, and they're on that intersection of Pershing and Myrtle. Right
that's the latest update from San Diego Police. It is Pershing and Myrtle, so that's where you're being asked to avoid Mid-City area. The driver, as you see, looks cornered at this point, and so that's our latest from our newsroom that's currently working to try to figure out, obviously what else is happening in and around this area. But the Chopper 8 view does give us a good perspective of how many officers there are and how many vehicles trying to get this one driver to come out.
I've covered a lot of these chases over the 20 years I've been doing this, and I'll tell you, I've never seen officers so casually walking around. They don't seem to have their guns drawn or anything. You see that officer there on the bottom left of your screen still talking. The suspect is 20 feet away from them. They must feel as if there is not much of a threat with this suspect. Potentially there has been some communication with this driver. We're not privy to what those conversations have been, but nonetheless, there's several manpower there to take the suspect into custody. Right now, they're just yelling verbal commands to him. He is not listening, not getting out at this point. But again, casually observing this vehicle, making sure that the suspect does listen to them. The suspect still doesn't seem like the car is in park. You see it moving from time to time.
Still
yeah,
trying.
that car is still in drive. Looks like, I mean, he made a full U-turn earlier and is now facing those officers. There's more than a dozen of them out of their cars,
Right.
none of them with their guns drawn. Looks like that car is still in drive, so he could easily reverse now and try to make his way out of there, or come to a complete stop and actually park the car, but doesn't look like he's done that yet.
And with the tires being, basically torn up at this point, obviously he's not going to get anywhere quickly by any means. This has been a 3 to 5 mile per hour chase. And, typically, as you said, Eric, officers will open their doors, use their doors as barricades with their guns drawn when they are trying to pull over a suspect in these high-speed chases. That is not happening here. You don't see them taking cover behind their vehicles.
Yeah, it looks like his vehicle is moving once again. So he remains in his vehicle. He's now backing up the car, which has completely deflated tires because of those spike strips. The officer is still watching him. Here comes the SUV. The SUV is probably going to try to corner him in to try to avoid further maneuvering from this suspect.
I do want to make a quick correction on the location. This is in North Park, so this is considered North Park.
Okay, there comes the bumper tap.
Yes, officers are now giving us an update here. They tried to pull over this driver for erratic driving.
Okay, yeah. So that is a bit of a bit of a scare for drivers when you know that there's a driver that is driving erratically. But they are definitely cornering him in now at all angles. They got him cornered in from behind. That's why these squad cars have these grill guards, they call them, in front. So it's not going to impact their bumpers, but they're definitely cornering him. No other place for this suspect to go other than to get out of the car and to comply with commands. You do see an officer on the middle right of your screen with a gun that is now drawn at the suspect. So they are asking him to comply with their commands now with guns drawn. You see the other officers with their hands on their weapons. He still has his left hand outside of the window. It does not appear to be anything in his hand. They are asking him to get out of the vehicle. He still has not complied. We've been seeing this for 20 minutes. There's nowhere left for him to go. They now have his back right quarter panel tied up with that vehicle, so he cannot drive any further. Let's hope he just listens to the commands, gets out of the vehicle, so the people that are in this neighborhood can finally get some peace.
Yeah,
there's a dog there that they're bringing in the bottom left there.
You wonder if he's maybe physically unable to get out of this vehicle. And, obviously it's hard to tell since we are not on the ground to hear what he may be saying and what the officers are saying. But, you can imagine they're telling him to get out. And, they obviously are very close right now, and the vehicle is not going to go anywhere, as you were mentioning. So Pershing and Myrtle, this is where all of this is happening in North Park. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 officer vehicles have now pretty much pushed this car. I mean, they're pretty much all surrounding him, so he can't move the vehicle anymore.
They felt the need to do that because for 25 minutes in a slow roll, he was taking little side streets where they weren't, and then they finally thought he came to a stop, and he kept on going. So they said, okay, we're done with that. We're going to box you in, and we hope you just listen to our commands. But good point. We don't know if he's physically able to get out of the vehicle or what this conversation is.
And that canine is in the bottom right of the screen there with those 3 officers on the ground there. They would probably use that as a tactic to try to get him out of the car with just the threat of the canine there in general. But odd to see, like you mentioned, more than a dozen officers there out of the vehicle, only one of them with a gun drawn. So like you mentioned, there is the possibility that maybe he can't get out of the vehicle, but they are using the threat of that canine dog there down on the bottom right of the screen, at least to try to get him out. He still has his left hand out of the car, still waving up and down there, still not sure what he's trying to signal.
So we're getting joined now from folks who are watching the CBS special report. They're joining us now. If you're just joining us, this is a slow speed chase that is at the final moments. You're watching it live here from Chopper 8. They just moved in and are now talking to the suspect and about to take him into custody.
Yes, and right now, all of this started about an hour ago. So since 6:30, Texas Street, North Park area, ending here, Pershing and Myrtle, and you can see them trying to get this driver to come out.
And they just got him on the ground.
They just got him on the ground. Okay, there you go.
I think the threat of him being boxed in, the dog coming out, and guns drawn were enough to finally get this driver who was originally pulled over for erratic driving, a traffic violation, and took them on a slow speed chase throughout this neighborhood because his tires were popped from those spike strips. Refused to come out, kept trying to slowly move around squad cars. They boxed him in. They talked to him for about 15 minutes in that spot. The canine came out, guns were drawn, more conversation was had. Eventually, he felt like he needed to get out of the car. I think officers began to pursue him and walk towards the SUV. They opened his car door, they brought him out, and now they are leading him away in handcuffs, as you can see. So he is on his 2 feet in handcuffs, being led to a squad car. We can confirm it is a man, it is a male suspect who is walking away.
And it appears like the vehicle was that black BMW and, you know, initially being pulled over, trying to get him to pull over for erratic driving. But, you know, it was a slow speed chase this whole time, 3 to 5 miles per hour, most likely because all 4 of the tires were deflated, pretty much shredded as this car was trying to, or the driver was trying to escape from officers. Obviously did not get to escape.
Our time on our CBS station right now is about to end. You're going to be going back to CBS programming, but if you're interested in watching the rest of the ending of this slow speed pursuit that ended in the suspect being taken into custody here, please join us on the CW San Diego station. We'll stay on it a little bit longer so that we can walk you through what happened. And if you just are joining us and you want to know what led up to all this, we're kind of recapping it as well over on the CW San Diego.
And we just got new information for those of you who are here on the CW. San Diego Police Department now saying it's a blue BMW. The driver described as Middle Eastern man went down Texas Street. And again, they set up those spike strips to try to get him to stop after they saw him driving erratically. And then it looks like that's, you know, he was going in and around North Park, all these city streets. And then eventually they were able to stop him there on Pershing and Myrtle.
And you can only imagine the kind of mess that this is causing on the roads there in the North Park area for the residents there, not to mention a busy time of the